Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The ultimate test for Hope and Carter: can a controversial couple survive? According to previews for The Bold and the Beautiful, Hope Logan and Carter Walton may feel like they're on top of the world now that they've taken over Forrester Creations, but everything might end badly. Despite their obvious happiness together, Carter and Hope may not be able to maintain their joyful relationship indefinitely. It's possible that B&B is preparing Hope and Carter for the ultimate challenge, one that will either strengthen them or destroy them. Annika Noel hinted at potential developments for Carter and Hope in 2025 in a recent interview with TV Insider. They may have found their match in one another, and I'm eager to watch how they handle situations that don't always go as planned. We haven't really put them to the test, Noel said. It sounds like Hope and Carter may face some difficulties in the upcoming year. Carter has big plans for Forrester Creations, but what if his proposal for a worldwide conglomerate fails? As Carter fully commits to his expansion goals, that is a potential to take into account. Naturally, we should also consider the potential outcomes in the event that Hope for the Future's comeback is a complete failure. What happens if Hope and Carter have to taste the bitterness of losing? If Brooke Logan continues to her plan, that might provide her the opportunity to persuade Carter to resubmit the appropriate LLC papers and return power to the Forresters. In any event, it will be intriguing to see if Carter and Hope can work together over the long haul. Can Hope and Carter's romance last for a long time? According to her interview remarks, Noel is also keen to learn more about it. At this stage of the narrative, it is too soon to predict with certainty what Carter and Hope's future holds. But Hope and Carter are just getting started, so I'm really interested to see if they're a power couple that can last, Noel remarked. Stay tuned for updates on any bad news that may be coming, as our B&B forecasts suggest that Carter and Hope's ultimate test may be failing at the new empire they're attempting to build. According to teasers on The Bold and the Beautiful, Hope and Carter are going to face some difficulties. Fanny Greyson returns, Electra's in peril, and Luna's sob story. According to Friday, December 27th spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Bill Spencer will be shocked when he pays Luna Nozawa another visit in jail. Bill would react strongly to Luna's obvious bruises and wonder what happened to her while she was incarcerated. Luna will have the opportunity to share her heartbreaking tale and even voice her displeasure about the risk she is in. Is there more to the story than Luna being attacked by one or two other prisoners? Did Luna purposefully irritate someone in order to cause them pain and win Bill's pity? Electra Forrester will find herself in a dangerous predicament as Bill questions Luna about the one she ended up in. Remy Price isn't aware that she's in his apartment yet, but Electra was appalled by what she discovered there. Remy can go into panic mode when Deacon Sharp tells him that he gave Electra the key so she could use his restroom. On Friday's B&B episode, Electra will be concerned by Remy's obsession with her because she just discovered his eerie wall of pictures. Will Remy turn around and discover Electra even though she will try to sneak out of the apartment once he arrives by hiding behind the sofa? Keep checking back for more on all the growing drama as Electra finds herself in a difficult place. Carter Walton and Hope Logan will then be confronted by Ivy Forrester and Will Spencer. Given that Katie Logan declined to answer Will's questions on Electra's termination, Will and Ivy will work together to move their inquiries to another location. But since they weren't told the full story, Carter and Hope are also in the dark. Remy's deepfake photographs are the source of all of this, but there are several levels involved, so it will take Will some effort to uncover the truth. Last but not least, Elsa Esnault will return to her role as French vocalist Fanny Greyson, who once looked for a Forrester original during the story of Ridge and Eric Forrester's fashion competition. Our predictions indicate that Carter and Hope will be ecstatic with Fanny's pitch as she returns to present a proposition involving a new perfume brand. According to teasers on The Bold and the Beautiful, Fanny will try her hardest to persuade Hope and Carter that her perfume line belongs at Forrester. Watch to see whether she receives some fantastic news. Ivy's alliance, Luna's prison beating, and Fanny Greyson's smelly proposition. Here are the spoilers for Friday, December 27th, 2024's episode of The Bold and the Beautiful. Fans might anticipate that Bill Spencer will be embarrassed by Luna Nozawa's beating in prison in tomorrow's episode. Emergence of the Beautiful and the Bold. Will Spencer and Ivy Forrester join forces? In addition, Fanny Greyson has returned with a perfume line proposal. Let's discuss what will happen in the upcoming episode of the CBS soap opera as you continue reading. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Will Spencer's perplexity. According to Friday, December 27 B&B spoilers, Will is committed to learning the reason behind Electra's termination from Forrester Creations. Will was certain that his mother would tell him the truth. Katie would only suggest that Will might not know Electra Forrester as well as he believes, but she wouldn't reveal the true reason. Ivy Forrester's alliance, B&B spoilers. Will and Ivy will talk about Electra on Friday, December 27. Will and Ivy will both be perplexed by Electra's abrupt dismissal. Katie denied that Electra's Forrester heritage was the reason. Additionally, Katie didn't disclose to Will that the photos were sent to her via an anonymous email for convenience. That is not at all suspicious. Ivy and Will are going to talk. Will and Ivy will devise a scheme because they want the truth. Will and Ivy make the decision to speak with Carter Walton and Hope Logan over Electra's dismissal. Will Carter inform Will and Electra that it was about photos? Carter knew about it, and Brooke Logan actually told him that the firing was handled. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Luna Nozawa's prison beating. According to Friday, December 27, spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Bill visits Luna in prison once more. Luna cautioned the last time that Bill had no idea what it was like for her inside. What a coincidence that Luna's face is blue and black when Bill visits her again. Luna will undoubtedly exploit these injuries to pressure Bill into assisting her with the appeal. Friday, December 27, 2024, B&B spoilers. The return of singer Fanny Greyson to Forrester Creations is also hinted at. Fanny is pitching a perfume line this time. Is this collaboration doomed, or will Carter and Hope's idea become a reality? On Friday, December 27, 2024, which storyline are you most excited to see? What do you think will happen to Will, Electra, Luna, and Bill? How will Ivy, Brooke, Katie, Carter, Hope, and the other characters fare in the future? Bill's breath came in ragged gasps as he staggered into the ancient, dark warehouse. Something about Luna had been mentioned in the hazy call, which had only consisted of a muffled voice on the other end of the line asking him to hurry. He had fled into the chilly night after dropping everything, including his coat, meal, and evening plans. As he pushed the rusting door open, the edifice towered over him like a quiet, menacing sentinel. There was an eerie reverberation in the cavernous chamber as the hinges moaned in protest. The stench of oil and decay filled the air, a sickening concoction that made his stomach turn and clawed at his throat. In the dim light of a solitary overhead light bulb, shadows shifted and danced, swaying softly as though they were also living and shivering with terror. Luna, Bill's voice broke as he yelled, his movements faltering. His eyes strained to adjust to the darkness as he looked about the room. In the otherwise terrible silence, the tiny buzz of the light overhead appeared deafening. He noticed broken tools all over the floor, old containers stacked carelessly, and a heavy dust coating that gave the impression that this location had been abandoned for a long time. His stomach churned with discomfort. There was a problem. Then he caught sight of her. She was half hidden behind a big wooden crate, leaning against the far wall. Normally so bright and lively, her platinum hair was matted with grime and blood. A horrific mosaic of violence was painted on her face and arms by the bruises that damaged her delicate skin, which always seemed to gleam even in the darkest of circumstances. Her chest rose and fell in short, irregular breaths, and her garments were ripped, dangling from her thin body like ragged rags. Bill paused for a second, his mind unable to comprehend what he was witnessing. Luna couldn't be here. Not Luna, who was always so powerful, so fierce, so rebellious. However, it was her. It was definitely her. Luna, he screamed and ran to her side. Ignoring the intense pain as they struck the hard pavement, he fell to his knees. His shaking hands hovered over her bruised figure as he reached out, uncertain of where to touch her without exacerbating the pain. Luna, my God. What took place? The sound of his words caused her eyelids to flicker feebly, and she groaned softly in pain. Her bottom lip was split and swollen, and her lips were dry and cracked. She opened her mouth to speak, but her voice was hardly audible above a weak whisper. Bill strained to hear her words as he leaned closer. She managed to say, they found me, in a voice so weak that Bill's heartbeat in his ears nearly drowned it out. I tried to fight, I tried. With a voice full of emotion, Bill murmured, Shoo, don't try to talk. With a feather-light touch, he moved a lock of bloody hair out of her face. I've arrived. You will be all right. I'll get you to leave this place. He glimpsed a glimmer of recognition, a glimmer of the strong spirit he was so familiar with, when Luna's watery, unfocused eyes briefly fixed upon his. However, it was short-lived, as her head lolled to the side and her eyes closed once more. Bill felt a wave of panic as he felt glad to see that her pulse was still there, albeit weak and irregular. His hands were sweaty and shaking so much that he almost dropped his phone as he struggled for it. He called emergency personnel, describing their location and Luna's condition in an urgent manner. He was told by the operator that assistance was on the way, but it seemed like forever before the siren's cries broke through the darkness. Bill tried to keep Luna awake as they waited. With a shaky but determined voice, he spoke to her and begged her to stay with him. To keep her grounded, he informed her about everyday things like the book he was reading and the stray cat he had spotted earlier in the day. However, as he spoke, more sinister ideas were racing through his head. Who had harmed her like this? Why? And why in this bleak location? Although Luna had always kept some aspects of her life private, he had never thought it would come to this. When the paramedics did arrive, they worked swiftly and effectively, evaluating Luna's injuries and placing her on a stretcher with somber expressions. Bill's jaw was clenched so hard it hurt, and he followed them out to the ambulance, with his hands balled into fists at his sides. Although he needed and desired answers, Luna's survival was the only thing that mattered at the moment. Without hesitation, he went into the back of the ambulance, sat next to her, and held her hand tightly as the ambulance raced to the hospital. The voyage was a haze of anxious voices and flashing lights. Bill continued to stare at Luna, hoping that she would open her eyes and show him that she was still fighting. She was taken to surgery as soon as they got to the hospital, leaving Bill by himself in the brilliantly lit, sterile hallway. With his head in his hands, he dropped into one of the terrible plastic seats and attempted to piece together what had transpired. He recalled Luna's giggle, her witty remarks, and the way she always seemed to know exactly what to say to cheer him up. It was too painful to consider losing her. It seemed like days, yet it was hours before a doctor came up to him. The man had a serious but hopeful expression. When he remarked, "She's stable for now," Bill's legs almost buckled under the weight of relief. Despite having a concussion, internal damage, and several fractures, she is a warrior. She has a decent chance, but the path to recovery will be long. With his throat too constricted to speak, Bill nodded. After putting a comforting touch on his shoulder, the doctor left, allowing Bill to collect his thoughts. For hours, he sat by Luna's bedside, watching her chest rise and fall steadily as the monitor's regular beeps provided an odd kind of solace. He made a commitment to himself that he would not stop until he discovered who had harmed her and held them accountable. Weeks passed, and Luna's flaming spirit gradually returned as she recovered. Bill didn't press her to discuss what had transpired, even if she was reluctant to do so. When she was ready, he knew she would tell him. He committed himself to her recuperation in the interim, supporting her at every stage. And his determination to defend her at all costs increased along with her strength. Electra had always taken great satisfaction in her keen intuition. She was frequently made fun of by her pals for being a human lie detector who could detect dishonesty with frightening accuracy. Nothing, however, could have prepared her for what she was about to learn. It began innocently enough with a lost receipt protruding from Remy's favorite leather jacket pocket, which was sloppily draped over the armrest of their shared couch. Despite her tendency to avoid prying, she felt drawn to the receipt for some reason. It came from a boutique that she had never heard of, specializing in expensive, luxury jewelry. She couldn't help but take it out and give it a closer look. She was aware that she had never received the gold necklace with engraving that was mentioned. She glanced at the slip of paper, her stomach churning. For whom was it intended? Electra's head was full of possibilities, each one more disturbing than the one before it. She told herself there might be a harmless explanation and tried to brush it aside. Perhaps it was a present he had yet to give her. Her suspicions, however, increased as the days went by and no golden necklace materialized. She began to notice more problems, minor discrepancies that grew into a much larger issue. The abrupt meetings that drew him away at strange hours, the late-night texts he claimed were work-related, and the subtle but distinct perfume smell on his clothing that wasn't hers. Every hint pointed her in the direction of a reality she wasn't sure she wanted to confront, much like a breadcrumb. When she found herself alone in their flat one rainy afternoon, it was the tipping point for her. Claiming to have a business appointment across town, Remy had hurried off. Electra kept having the uneasy feeling that something wasn't right. His laptop, closed on the desk in the corner of their living room, caught her attention. Her heart thumping in her chest, she paused. Since she had always felt that trust was the foundation of their relationship, she had never before intruded on his private. However, the burden of her doubts was too great to handle this time. She opened the laptop with shaking hands and entered the password she had seen him input 100 times. She went straight to his email as soon as the screen came up. As she browsed through the inbox, each message blending into a sea of uninteresting subject lines, her fingers felt like lead. One email caught her attention just as she was beginning to feel stupid. Her breath caught as she clicked on the subject line, "Our little secret." Electra's life fell apart as she saw the words on the screen. The email was from someone named Vanessa. When Vanessa thanked Remy for the beautiful necklace and expressed her admiration for the inscription, her tone was informal, even loving. "To my dearest Vanessa, forever yours." Electra's vision blurred as tears filled her eyes. She again reviewed the email in the hopes that she had misread it or that there was another explanation. But she knew in her heart that there wasn't. The proof was indisputable. Remy was cheating on her partner. With her head spinning, Electra reclined in the chair. She experienced a wave of emotions, including sadness, betrayal, and rage. How could he harm her like this? To them? She reflected on all of their shared experiences and the vows they had made to one another. Everything had been false. However, as the initial shock subsided, a new feeling emerged: resolve. She would not allow him to get away with this. The days that followed were filled with secret preparations. Electra began observing Remy's actions more intently, seeking any chance to validate her preconceived notions. One evening, as he drove across town from the apartment, she kept her distance and followed him. Watching him pull up to a tiny, fancy restaurant and meet a dark-haired woman with a bright smile made her heart race. Vanessa. Electra remained in her vehicle, her fingers whitened from holding on to the steering wheel. She saw them hold hands, kiss, and laugh together. Any remaining misgivings she might have had vanished in that instant. Electra was waiting for Remy when he got home later that evening. By setting the table and lighting the candles, she created a vision of home joy that concealed the storm that was simmering beneath the surface. As he entered, he remarked on how beautiful everything appeared, appearing shocked but happy. As they sat down to eat, Electra forced a grin and played along. As she questioned him about his meeting, she kept a tight eye on his expression while he twisted his statements. Knowing that she had to meet him on her terms, she restrained herself from screaming and letting him see the reality. She escorted him to the couch after supper and poured them each a glass of wine. "Remy," she said, her voice firm in spite of her internal conflict. "Today, I discovered something. I think you should clarify something." She took the receipt out of her pocket and gave it to him. As he read it, his face changed from bewilderment to panic, and he opened and closed his mouth to find the right words. She went on before he could say anything more. "And then there's this," she said, removing a hard copy of Vanessa's email. She observed his face losing all of its color. He stumbled. "Electra, I can explain," but she interrupted him. "Don't," she stated in a cold tone. "Tonight, I saw you. You were with her when I saw you. Are you aware of the humiliating nature of this? How painful is it?" Her eyes began to brim up with tears, but she resisted letting them go. Remy, I trusted you. I had faith in us. And you pay me back like this? Remy made an effort to apologize and provide justifications, but Electra wasn't interested in hearing them. She got to her feet and gestured to the door with trembling palms. Her voice was forceful as she said, "Get out. I don't want to hear from you again. Simply leave." He appeared to want to protest, but the expression in her eyes told him that was pointless. With a finality that reverberated throughout the flat, he packed his belongings and walked out, the door closing behind him. After a prolonged period of staring at the locked door, Electra collapsed onto the couch. She finally let the tears she had been suppressing fall, and she sobbed until she was completely dry. Electra concentrated on reassembling her life in the days that followed. She turned to her friends, who came together to support her no matter what. With the intention of overcoming the agony and emerging stronger, she began treatment. She gradually started to rediscover herself, regaining the aspects of herself that her relationship with Remy had taken away. She refused to let his treachery define her, even if it wasn't always easy, and there were days when the weight of it all felt too much to carry. Electra felt a spark of optimism as she looked to the future, knowing that she deserved better. Although she had experienced hell, she had emerged from it stronger and resolved to never accept anything less than what she was due. Her heart was broken by Remy's naughty little secret, but her soul remained unbroken. And that was the final triumph, she understood.